Hello, my name is Terry Olette. Thank you for joining us for this third video in this series, The Techniques of Stamping. Fran Seifert of Stampendous Ink, or Fun Stamps, will use her expertise to demonstrate a variety of ways to enhance your rubber stamping. Anybody can press a stamp to a piece of paper, but developing a technique is what allows you to become an artist. Fran, how about if you show us some of the techniques that you use?
Okay, this is where the fun part really begins.
Oh,
I can
good.
show you all sorts of things
All right,
here.
I'm ready.
Okay, one of the ones I'd like to start with is doing background patterns. And
Okay.
there's several designs which form a continuous pattern. And using a light color stamp pad, I can take a stamp like this that is just a square image. And the stamp pads, especially the pastel colors, work real well for this. I'm going to start in the upper left corner and just keep stamping all the way down the page. And go off the edge. Okay. Then I can go to make the next row. This particular pattern, when I played with it, discovered that it matched up the best at what I would call a half-step interval. So I'm going to line it up to right where the two joined in the middle to start my second row.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can
so
see
now the pattern
continues there. Okay.
I can back up and catch the top edge and then keep going on down the page.
It looks like it's hard to do, is it?
It's not difficult really to line things up once you get started, and even if you have some little gaps, your eye sort of fills it in anyway. With a light color pad this way, it's very quick to cover the entire card.
Yeah, it is moving a lot quicker than I thought it would.
Yeah, and once it goes off the
filling
edge,
it in.
is fine here.
Wow.
So a background pattern can be the first step of and then adding other things to it. Let me show you some of the finished examples over here.
Okay.
Where I did another one in lavender, and you can see it's the same pattern. It takes on a different look. And here's some other finished cards where I went back in and added some little bits of color or something in there, and the other colors in there. And so here's that one stamp. Again, I'm getting a lot of mileage out of it, that every time I change colors, I can use it for a different season, I can use it for a different style, and everything. Here's one where I use this design, and it creates that little heart shape in there in the background.
Oh, that is beautiful. It's subtle, but it gives it a whole different look.
And you can do your contrast this way with a light color background, then do other stamping right over the top, and once I colored this in to bring it out as my focal point, it just added interest to have all that color in the background.
Yeah, it gives it a different look.
Here's another card where I used this design and got a continuous pattern that has the little hearts in it. And this one is an example with this. You can see it under there as the background.
Oh, this is
and
interesting.
It matches up again in the V pattern and side to side.
Did you use the rainbow pad on that?
Yeah, that's the sunset pad.
That is real. Now that gives it a whole different look.
Right, you come back with darker colors now on top, and you get a very interesting effect from it. And next I'll show you another way that you can do some very interesting background patterning. And I did a little bit of this ahead using a yellow stamp pad, and I'm going to add the next color.
Let's see if I can guess what you used on there. It gives it a very interesting design, but I have no idea.
This is all just Kleenex.
Really?
So you can take the Kleenex to your whatever different color pad, dab it on there, and you're going to get some sort of a look from that image on there.
Oh, that's pretty.
Isn't that fun?
Yes.
And you can keep moving through the whole card that way, and you can keep adding several different colors, whatever you like.
Whatever strikes your fancy, huh?
Let me show you a finished card here where we did this little Easter card, and I did the yellow.
Is this all with the Kleenex too?
All Kleenex.
Oh, okay.
On this one I put one of the little tags down to cover up that area, and then I just worked away with the Kleenex. You can go across the back of your card. Sometimes it helps to actually do your testing over here.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And move on to the front of your card as you're sure you've got it working for you. But if play with the Kleenex, you can keep getting all different textures. Look at some of these examples here where I just kept trying different things. Again, I put this card down. You might as well get your mileage out of,
There
you know,
you
getting a
go.
2-in-1. But other times, just the movement of your Kleenex will keep giving you all different patterns.
Oh.
You switch colors, you can
This
get a
is with-
marble effect.
Really? Is that with Kleenex? These are all done with Kleenex.
Right, or scraps of paper for your little lines, and it's all called like a faux finish is a fancy word for it, but you can get a lot of different techniques with it.
Now with this one, how
And-
did you get that effect? It's not necessarily like
Right,
any
well
of
some
the
of
others.
these I was working dry a little bit more, whereas over here I had it wet. That gave me much softer streaking on there, so you can work wet or dry on all of them.
Oh, okay.
And Sandra Posey is one artist who has just developed a lot of beautiful techniques with all of this thing and really inspired the rest of us to try a lot of things like this.
Those are some beautiful ideas.
Right. Next, let's look at some sponging.
Okay.
In the same way that you can get some texture with the Kleenex, you can also use these little sponges to get a lot of color and a little bit of texture. There's a set of them in the package, and I like to save one for each different color. You can just keep going that way, and without muddying up your colors, you kind of, it almost becomes its own little palette on there. And pull out some of the samples here. Some of the fun things with this are that you can take a very simple card that looked a little bit plain, and just using one of the sponges, and I can work off of a stamp pad to pick up some color this way, and I tested over here on my scrap paper to make sure I'm not too dark, but then I can just dab and work into the card as light or dark as I want, as smooth or textured.
Yeah, that
just
gives it a
try
nice
all different
soft
things.
look. I like that.
It really looks almost like airbrushing.
It does.
And it's just a sponge, so it's easy to control. It doesn't take any equipment at all, which
And you
is
can make
nice.
it probably as light or as dark as you would like, depending on how
Yeah,
many
and
times you
just
did it.
using several colors on there somehow is a lot of fun. And on this card, I'm using it to create my whole scenic effect. And anytime you just add some blue for sky and the grass, and
that is
you could
just
do the whole thing.
adorable.
So, and on this one now you can get your whole sunset, you know, in the same way.
Here you have a rainbow of colors
Yeah,
there.
and you can get your pigments from either the stamp pads, color cubes, or even markers, and apply it onto the sponge that way, in whatever way you like, to get the color that you need.
Oh, that's great to know. You don't have to have a stamp pad in order to do that. Great.
Yeah, let me show you something a little bit different that you can do that kind of is something like stenciling in a way. And I kind of have things in stages here. But I started with one of the little pastel cards that's a lavender one, but it's very light. And I'm using one of a little doily. And I can put it down on the card like this, and just using this as if it were my little sponge. Let me clean it off here a little bit. I can put this down on the card and just begin stamping right through the doily.
Oh, great idea.
So that when I pull it away, there I've created the whole image on there by the sponging.
That's beautiful.
So,
now
and
this paper was already a light lavender color, so
right,
basically
this
we've
is
just
the
added to
starting
it.
color, but it really enhances things.
Oh, it does.
To
It
just
does.
highlight the color.
It's
So
gorgeous.
you can see the development of the card from here, where I'm using a couple of these little stamps. These we call our French ribbon, and because they're in separate pieces, you can combine them all different ways.
You know, I could not figure out what that was
Yeah,
earlier.
it looks funny by itself.
I couldn't figure it out, and
Yeah.
look at what you've created with one
So
stamp.
you can kind of see a progression here that we've stamped on there, and then we've done a little bit more sponging around the edges perhaps, and then go back and color in. Now you've got a beautiful card, and it's enhanced by that background sponging
That
on
is
there.
gorgeous.
So that
just
makes it a lot of
beautiful.
fun. Here's another little sample where we took the same postcard and folded it in half.
And basically all you
And-
did here was go around the edges, right? And
I
look
think
at
this was the
what-
burgundy stamp pad. It was very quick and easy to do. You noticed on a card earlier that it seemed different, and it was because of the wet look on it.
Right.
Let's talk about that a little bit more. There's a lot of beautiful effects you can get with watercolor, And Rosemary McLean Ware is a watercolor artist who has gotten into stamping and reminded all of us of just some wonderful things that watercolor effect will do with the stamping. So I've got a card here, and I stamped all different colors on there, and if I just add water to it, it will give me lighter values of each of these colors. So I just have a jar of fresh water in here, and why don't I let you try it even. Here's a clean sponge.
Okay, okay.
And just try pulling down some of the colors on there, and it just moves the color around on the paper. This is some of the more absorbent paper.
Now first I need to dip it in the water a little bit here, right?
Yeah.
You don't want it too wet, and you don't want it too dry, right?
Right.
Okay.
Give it a try there, and just pull straight down even, and yeah.
Oh.
See, now you can get any different
that
shade
pretty?
from that marker color if you add water.
Okay, now
So
to move to this color, do I need to use a different sponge?
you could probably do the next one with it, since it's
Okay.
another shade of orange there.
Okay. You know, what an interesting concept to mix stamping and watercolor.
Yeah.
Now, how did you
Really
get that?
comes out
I
nice.
want to know how you got that. Was that because of a lot of water, and I just don't have enough water on my sponge?
Some of these I used a big brush, but I kind of like the look that the sponge gives us too, so it just gives you a whole variety of different options. And sometimes the paper gets a little bit wiggly if you get too much water on there.
Yeah, I noticed that.
But-
Is there a way you can fix that? Now, see my
And you
sponge?
can flatten it out too by pressing the card when you're done. Let it dry first, and then you can press it under some heavy books or something, or you could even iron it with some paper in between to make sure.
Oh, that's a good
clean that
idea.
way.
A good hot iron will straighten that out. That's neat. I really
Yeah.
like that.
So let me
Okay.
show you a couple other things. The cards that we had over here, when I work on the recycled paper, sometimes when I stamp, it doesn't come up real bright.
Oh, really?
And-
Is that because of the paper?
Right, so let me show you though on some of it. If I just take a clean brush, and in fact, you want to try some more?
I'd love to. I'm having
Yeah.
fun.
Again,
Okay.
we're just using fresh water in there
Okay.
and go over an area. You might want to keep the purple away from the yellow. The
Oh.
purple will kind of take over the yellow.
that
So get just a
possible?
purple
Okay.
area at a time,
Okay.
wet, and you'll see how suddenly all this vivid color is
Oh
there.
my gosh, look at that.
So what looked stiff maybe that was stamped, suddenly now looks like maybe you painted the whole thing, and you
Looks like I-
almost camouflaged that the...
Looks like I did it all over
Yeah.
again, you're right.
Yeah. And other areas, if you want it more precise, you can just stay within that inked area.
Now this is interesting, the two effects
Mhm.
that I got here. And I obviously, used a lot more water here in this one
Right.
than
Yeah,
you
and
did.
on this one I just stayed inside that area,
Oh, I
the
see.
purple area.
Okay.
And
do
the
I need,
same...
I'm
Mhm.
sorry, do I need to clean my brush before I do the yellow?
Definitely.
Really?
Yeah.
On just the paper? or-
If you have enough water in there,
okay.
chances are it'll clean. You might test it on the paper, make sure you're clean. Mhm.
Okay, I am.
And
Oh, look at that. Okay.
yeah. And sometimes you might wait for one area to dry before getting the other area wet, because it'll bleed a little bit in there.
Okay.
But let's say down here, part of this didn't get inked all the way.
Mhm.
You could probably camouflage it with your wet brush and just pull that color down
Oh,
into that
okay.
area. Try that.
Let me try that. Oh, look at.
Yeah.
Did I do that right?
Yeah.
Well, that really softens it up. Should I do the rest because I did that
It'll help
one?
brighten the colors.
Yeah, okay. All right. And really, you could either kind of just dab on it, or you could brush it. This kind of depends on
Anything
what
you
you wanna
like.
do. Anything you like. That's what I like about this.
See, we got an artist already here. A watercolor artist
Oh,
now.
I like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's fun.
That one with the irises really looks nice
Yeah,
that way.
that's one of my favorite ones I love on this
Yeah.
card over here.
Let me show
Okay.
you a couple other things, because on the ones we've done so far, we're moving color after it's on the paper.
Mhm.
There's other times that you might go back and actually put color in where there wasn't any before. Let me show you, for example, on here. This card I had stamped with the dark colors, and I used some of the pastel markers, and I went back and
Fill in.
colored in.
Oh,
But even
okay.
that, these were the lightest markers I had, and they still looked rather bold.
Mhm,
If I wanted
yes.
a real light wash, like we have in this one of the few ways to get it is to use this wet brush technique. So let's try this. Let me borrow the brush
Okay.
back. What I've done is I've used this little palette, and I've taken some of the markers and just scribbled scribbled in the palette.
Oh, is that going to be enough?
Let's try it.
Okay.
And I've already put a bunch of other colors in here. And now I just have my wet brush, and I put some of this pink in here earlier, and you can see I have a lot more control of the light or dark. And if I wet that whole rose area, and then if I want it darker, let's say I'm not picking up enough from there, I could also take my, I think I used this pink. Right.
Well, I'm getting these techniques, or these pens
I can
now.
also take my brush this way and get some darker shade on there. So I have a lot of different options, but in all of these, I'm putting the color in with the brush.
Right.
So that gives you some nice...
You know, I'm surprised that a little bit of your marker in there will create that much color.
And some of this, even if it dries in here, you can come back and use it later. This one seems like it's dry.
Yeah,
I get my wet brush in there and I find out, oh, I've got yellow in there.
Now, I notice you're not staying within the lines.
You can get a real soft effect if you want, or you can stay within lines, whatever look you want.
That is beautiful.
So.
It just seems to just flow right into the other petals on each flower.
So
that's
that
beautiful.
makes it a lot of fun. I'll just show you a few more samples on here, but this one hardly looks stamped at all by the time you get even this much water on there.
Yeah,
on
it looks like somebody
grass.
painted that on.
And other times with your patterning, just run a brush down the whole area.
Oh, now that's an interesting idea. You use the rainbow stamp on that, or two colors.
It may have, I'm not sure which, it may have been markers on there.
But you
it
use
gives
the
you
two
the
colors,
same-
and then the way they just blend together, they're
Blend all
so
together.
soft.
And this one, we had seen a sample earlier that was on the chrome coat.
That's right, I remember.
This one on the more absorbent paper gives you a rather different, it's a softer look. And you can try either way.
And you just went around with the wet brush and just kind of brought that color out.
Or if I needed a dark color, I could go to my marker and put more color back into the picture. So that gives you a lot of different watercolor ideas.
Wow, that's a neat technique. I like that. Now we're going to take a look at some three-dimensional techniques and ideas like you see here on the cover of these boxes. Fran, this is an interesting collage. What do you call these?
We call them little nested boxes.
Nested
they all
boxes.
fit inside each other that way, and the colors are fun.
They are fun. They're bright and beautiful. There's interesting things you did with them.
Yeah, there's a lot of ideas that you can take your stamping into 3 dimensions by cutting out pieces and building layers, and that's some of what we'll look at next.
Great.
So,
let's get started.
Yeah. Okay, one of the things that we were talking about is, you know, and using your intuitive side of the brain and experiment and stamp and play with all of this stuff. Sometimes that first try doesn't work quite right. But I always tell people, don't throw it away. And so I kind of have a whole envelope that I call my recycle envelope, and I save all the pieces.
Good idea.
And let's see what we've still got in here.
Oh, all kinds of fun things.
Because what happens is sometimes that first try doesn't work quite right, but if you save the pieces, sometimes you can put it together in a different way, and it'll give you an idea you never thought of before. And here are some pieces that are like background patterns that we talked about. And some of them, you know, maybe they came out looking a little bit funny, but you can use pieces.
Cut corners or punch things out if you need to.
Take the little pieces that did work okay and regroup them in a different way.
Yeah, because you might put a lot of work into something like this, and it's just maybe just didn't fit.
And maybe you got a smear on the background of the paper.
Right.
And so it doesn't go to waste. You just save it, and later you come back to an idea.
That's a great idea.
And in fact, let me give you a simple little formula that will work for a layered card.
Okay.
This will work every time. And you can do all different varieties of it. Your first step is to find a background pattern, and that's layer 1.
Okay.
Then you can do your second layer can be one of these doilies. Okay.
Okay.
And the third layer can be any cutout image on there. Okay. And you can make infinite different combinations of that simple formula, and it'll look like a very fancy card. I think I had, let's see,
All kinds of pieces in here you could put together.
Ooh,
So we
here's
want
a pretty one.
Do we want to kind of pick something out here?
Let's try a combination
Okay,
here.
well,
why
let's
don't
try
you
this
Why don't
purple
you
one.
try a couple of them and see what we like here?
Okay, I like
Here's
this
a pretty one.
Okay, and then we need, this is our first layer. We need a second layer.
Okay.
I can pick anything?
A doily.
A doily.
Is your second layer.
Okay. How about, oh no, I like this one. How about that one?
Okay.
Is that one too big or doesn't matter, does it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then our third layer, which was this real pretty basket here.
Yeah, that one looks
Boy,
nice.
you certainly wouldn't want to throw anything like that away. That is beautiful. Okay. So now we have 3 layers there.
Yeah, let's see.
And then we can
Then
just
you
keep
might-
adding things to it.
Here's an
or-
interesting little piece. You might add in a piece like that.
I would have never thought of doing
And
that.
put a bow on it. No, maybe it's not the right color. But you can keep playing with the pieces, keep moving them around until you get something you really like.
Yeah, okay.
And then you can just glue the layers together. You can use a little glue stick. Or we also, let me show you some things in here. This little trinket pack
Ooh, that looks like a
has
fun
a
package.
whole bunch of different things. And every one's a little bit different. You've got some of the sequins and bows and everything.
Ooh.
And we put into each of the packages a little strip of this foam tape.
Okay.
And it's sticky back on both sides.
Oh, I
And we
see.
used a lot of this on those boxes because
On
it
these-
builds up that layer,
I
that
see.
three-dimensional layer. And all you need is a little piece of it on here.
Okay.
Peel off the backing and secure it. Even one right in the middle on the back is going to give you some height.
Oh, just to
on
kind of
there.
raise it
Mhm.
up a little
Yeah,
bit from
yeah.
the doily.
So
okay.
that'll give you a lot of
Boy,
fun.
this strip I could see would
ideas.
probably last you a very long time,
Yeah,
wouldn't it? Because you
yeah.
just use a tiny, tiny
Mhm.
piece. And then
Yeah.
this would be glued directly to your card.
Right, and this would be easy, the flat layer. You could just use your glue stick or
I
something
see.
on that
Okay.
one. Mhm.
Okay.
So
Well,
there's
that's a neat
all
idea.
kinds of things that'll just, give you, you can put
Ooh.
something in behind here and get a whole different look. Cut pieces out of this or, whatever
I
you
like
want to
that.
do with
That's
that.
pretty. Okay.
So-
And all these things come in this one package, so you can just play
Right.
with all different ideas.
Yeah. So let me
Okay.
show you some other ideas. There's a stack there if you want to pull those out, and let's take a look at a couple other,
Okay.
some
Pull
finished
these out of the way.
ideas. Yeah, go ahead and look through those a little bit.
Ooh. Well, I see what you mean here about layering.
Mm-hmm. There's just building on our little formula. And you can keep adding as many different layers as you want or putting the little trinkets onto the card.
Oh, now with this one you
Yeah.
stamped
Mm-hmm.
the bow and then stamped again, cut it out, and put it on top of the
Right.
bow. Okay.
Yeah.
So that
And-
gives it even more of a
And you can,
three-dimensional
yeah,
look.
and you can stamp as many layers as you need to build up the,
Okay. And here you,
picture on
same
there.
thing, you just cut the flowers out
Mhm.
of another stamp here. Oh, this
Yeah.
is an interesting one. You added some trinkets. Oh, I
Yeah.
like that one.
Yeah, the colors are really nice on that one.
Okay.
So this will give you a very elegant Victorian look
Mm.
that's really very simple to do.
Right.
And some people are a little bit intimidated by it, but if you just use that 1, 2, 3 formula,
Right.
it'll work with a lot of variety.
Good. Works every time.
mhm.
I like that.
Now
Okay.
another thing, if something doesn't get stamped quite right, you can also do some cover-up things with sticker paper.
Oh, all right.
And
That's why you never throw anything away. You can
Right,
fix
save
it
everything,
or
right.
use it next time.
Yeah, these sheets of the large sticker paper you can stamp on. They're very similar to the glossy paper cards.
Mhm.
And this is an easy way with this window stamp, for example, to stamp the whole window first and then stamp on your sticker paper, go back in and cut out pieces and build layers and stuff that way.
Oh, I see. So this isn't stamped directly on the card. You use sticker paper and then
Yeah, and it's really that
it gives it
quick
just
and easy to
a
do.
different look
Mhm.
than if you stamped it directly on the card.
Right, and I can go back in and put down
Ooh.
another one. That one looked a little bit wrinkled. I could fix it, see, by just putting another layer on top.
Oh, great idea.
So there's
I like
always a
that.
way to, to do a nice
Yeah.
finished card. This is another one here with a little cutout. It's just on sticker paper. And, so,
Oh,
and
this
here's
is
another
beautiful.
building up the layers.
This looks like some of those
stuff.
garden flowers from the, is that what it is from the garden card? Now, what I like here is how you incorporated. Tell us what you did here with that.
Again, I just stamped again on scrap paper, and I cut out 2 more pieces, and now I have shutters on there.
Isn't that
So
cute? And those
really
originally
versatile.
weren't on there, and you just created that idea. Well,
yeah. And then anytime you need to do some cutting that you can't get to with scissors, you can always use an X-Acto knife, and I have a little cutting mat, and I can just follow all of the stamped line areas and cut away little pieces and stuff in there.
Boy, you could create all kinds of things then. You could really, because of the effect that you have by opening that up, you could even stamp in here and create another message, couldn't you?
Right, or a whole scene or some other things in there.
That's beautiful.
So,
Okay, great.
Yeah, there's so many different cutout ideas that I'll just show another range of things here where you're building up different layers. And this is kind of a fun one.
Oh, that is
Pull
cute.
on the little ribbon there and see.
Oh, look at that. Isn't that adorable?
Turn it over and you can see how it was just a simple piece, and putting the tab on there keeps it from pulling all the way out of the card.
Oh,
isn't that fun?
Isn't that something? Look at that. And here I like this, that you use the string here to give it a 3-dimensional look with the with the
Pull
balloons.
it over here a little bit more so I can.
Oh, isn't that cute?
Yeah. So that makes a fun one. And it's a variety of techniques all on the one card.
I like that one too. Okay.
Here's just some more layers.
Oh, now this is at least, how many
Stuff on
layers do you
there.
have on there?
I
About
guess
3 or
3.
4? Oh, that, now it doesn't really matter. I mean, you could, I mean, you don't want to build it up too high, obviously, but even that 3-layered, and here you've got a 3-layer next to a 2-layer.
And decide what you want, sort of focal point. And so the easy thing is that you're stamping first and then cutting away the areas that you don't want. You have a line to follow around there, and you want the contrast of the darker color behind it there.
This is beautiful. And you put a little stamp in there to give it a different look. Okay.
Yeah. Now let me show you a couple other 3D ideas. On this card, I stamped, this is one of the postcards, and I stamped across, somewhere crossing the midline of the card, and then I can take my X-Acto knife, I did some of this ahead, and cut all the way around that top edge.
Okay.
And then what I've done on the back is I've made some markings and kind of measured things just a little bit on here is to find that midline. And anytime you want to get a nice fold, you can take a pen and just score it this way. Okay? So now that I've cut this part, I can fold it back like that.
Oh, okay.
And make a nice little stand-up, a place card or...
Yeah. That just helped you fold it easier.
Right.
By scoring
and I can do
it.
that anywhere I need a fold and burnish the edge of the card. Another fun thing are all different kinds of, you know, you've probably heard of pinking shears and stuff. Well, a lot of similar things are like that are available now. This one is a real fun little wavy pattern.
Oh, yeah. It's
and
different.
Similar one with this one.
This is a different one, or is that the same
Different
type
colors, it's a little bit
of...
different.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's see.
So let's say we put a pretty little edge on the bottom of the card.
Good
Give it
idea.
a
I
try.
like that. Okay.
And sometimes if it's hard to line up, putting a line on the back will help you. So see if you can just cut along that edge.
Oh, that's a great idea, because you wouldn't know exactly. I mean, something like this you would want to make sure is straight, because it's going to be an edge that shows. You need to just follow that line with the end of the scissors. And that makes it a lot easier to do. Kinda.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't do a very good job, but
Yeah, that works
I'm
great.
a beginner and
And
you're
you can
a pro.
go along both edges, and then you can come back and do some more punching is another thing. Let's try some punching
Well, that
on
gives it a
here.
real pretty little edge.
Yeah.
Different.
Well, that's good to practice on the back edge. In fact, let's try something back here, and then we can repeat it on the front so that we have matching
That's a good idea.
on both sides.
Okay.
Now, some of the punches that are, this is more the style you're used to seeing.
Yeah, I've seen those.
But instead of just a round punch, these are actually little heart patterns.
Oh,
Isn't that fun?
Yes.
And you can do all sorts of patterns across front of the card and do
that
little
is so
borders
adorable.
and different lines. And this is also another kind of punch.
Now, I've never seen a
Isn't it
punch
fun?
like this before. How does this work?
This one is, it's all metal pieces in there. And move this out of the way. Just slide the paper
Slide
in
it in
there.
like that, and just push.
Right.
Ah,
Fun.
look at that.
And you can also make use of all your little punch outs.
You do save
So,
everything, don't you?
Yeah.
I can imagine what
Nothing
your
goes to waste.
recyclables look like at your office. Oh, that's fun.
So,
Okay,
yeah.
and they come in all different designs and everything, too.
Right. So you can do all different kinds of patterns with that. And there's all different shapes. And that's half the fun of doing all these different things. And then if you do it in different colors, you can glue them back onto other cards.
Oh, I see what you did with them. You just put those right back on there like that in the colored paper.
Yeah.
Great.
Here's combining large and small
Punches.
punches.
Oh, okay.
Here's some other
This is interesting.
fun
Now here you
things. Here's
punched,
some
what
other
it,
cutout
these are,
things. That was some of the foil paper out of the trinket pack.
oh, and you
it
just
comes
glued
in
that
all
right
different
on
colors. And some of the other little shapes. This one is the star, one that we used down here. And there's a little diamond and a circle pattern, and just any combination of these
there. Oh, that's pretty.
different
with the
pieces are fun.
poinsettias there, and you have them raised up there with the foam.
Here's some of the little diamond patterns. It can look like lace work on there.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I see that. You just taped that on the back there, and now that's a sticker there, and you just punched a design all the way around the edge.
Right.
That's good. I like that one.
you can even spell words.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. This is Kitty. Okay.
So, yeah, and there's another one. on
This
there
is
that's real
interesting. I
pretty.
like that. I
A
like
pretty
that.
edge.
Okay. These look like a lot of neat ideas here, Fran. What do you have on your board?
These are all different punch ideas, so it's kind of a nice review of all the things we've been looking at. And there's quite a variety on here.
Yeah, I was noticing this one here. It looks like a flowered punch, which I didn't see before.
Yeah, this one actually is a combination of the heart punches. With 3 of them on there, it forms the whole flower.
Oh, yeah, that's
kinda
right. They're
fun.
just all put together and their points put together.
Yeah.
Now, this one down here I find interesting. You have the middle, you punched a design, and then you popped out the middle. What did you
Right,
do on
that's
that?
all just using the star punches. Using the big one in the middle creates that whole little frame
Oh,
in there, and that
And
was
then
one
you-
of the little Victorian tags with the pretty shape on the outside.
oh, that's a neat
So,
idea. Those are some
yeah.
wonderful ideas right there.
Yeah, let me show you just a few more punch things as
Okay.
well.
Great.
We mentioned punching some of the foil papers that were in the trinket pack.
Mm-hmm.
You can also punch some of this other kind of special sticker paper. It's a glitzy kind
Ooh.
of paper. Isn't that fun?
That's pretty. I like that.
And let's see, I punched out a bunch of the little hearts ahead of time. And this is another fun way to decorate the little boxes. Let's try some things here.
Our bright canary yellow boxes here.
Yeah, that's a pretty one. Yeah, just try some different patterns on there.
Oh, okay. I see. You just punched out. And you can
It's
just
all
put
different
these wherever you
colors.
wanted to and kind of create a design as you go.
Yeah, and
And you
before
try
you stick
something
them
in the
on,
middle.
place them and get the design just how you like it. And then you can peel off the backing paper, and you don't need any other glue.
So you can just kind of put them wherever, and
Yeah.
before you stick them on, because I'm assuming once you put them on, they're on.
Yeah.
They're not going to come off.
You can put them around the edges, do little rows. They're all different
Oh,
sorts
yeah, like
of
here
patterns.
you had cut a strip here with those wavy scissors, and you could like maybe wrap that around
That would
the
be real
side
pretty
or
on
something.
there.
Oh,
And
that's
the
a
other
good
little
idea.
Christmas box over there was a combination of all the little wavy cut strips on there.
Okay, that's a neat
And
idea.
there's a lot of different, look at how bright some of these colors. And then
Wow.
others are more subdued
Oh, yeah, some of
colors.
them are fine, and this one
Here's
looks
a-
different. What type of
This is,
glitter
yeah,
is
this is actually a clear. In
It
fact,
is?
let's try it, putting it down over something and see what effect
Okay.
we get.
You
Let's
want me
try
to
it right
peel
here.
it right off?
Yeah,
or-
peel off the
okay.
backing.
The whole thing. This is going to have an interesting look to it, I can tell already. Ooh, all right. And then just lay it right over the
Yeah,
top?
yeah. Pull it right up.
Oh,
Ooh,
look at that.
That just adds a real
Well,
sparkle
I got kind
to
of
the
a
whole
bubble on
thing.
there. You need to be careful when
Yeah, you can kind of
put that
smooth it
down.
from one edge out. And then after it's on there, then you could go back and trim away around the edge or even cut it off on there. But the sparkle and stuff to it is just real fun.
That's fun.
Isn't that fun?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll set it back on here for the moment.
Okay.
And there was one other thing I wanted to talk about with some three-dimensional things is pop-up cards. And most people think pop-up cards are just too difficult, but I want to show you a real simple idea with it that's very easy to do. And these are just our folded cards, but I've decorated the glossy side in this case.
I recognize that. That's with the Kleenex.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So I'm going to fold it with the pattern in, and along the fold I can take my scissors and clip two places in here that are about the same distance up from the fold. And then I'm going to take that little piece and fold it up.
Now you folded your pattern together.
The pattern is on the inside now. Okay. And in fact, if you want to crease something, you can just take a clean edge this way of the stamp liner. Okay, fold it back, and when we open it up this way, now you can just push it out, pop it up, going the other direction. Okay,
push it back in
fold
on
it
the
again,
inside.
and you can just kind of reinforce the folds like that. Now there's one simple little piece in there, and using our cutout shapes, we could play with all different shapes and pieces on here, do a whole series of different shapes if we wanted to, and then just mount the separate piece on there with some glue. And the idea is that you can fold the card again. It's going to be completely flat in there, but it opens up.
Oh, how wonderful. Isn't that a great idea?
And then this whole card can get mounted inside another card, and folded you can then decorate the outside even before you put the two together. And so that gives you a very simple way to do the pop-up card. And I'll show you an elaborate one here. Let's watch this. This is on a larger dimension. Let's see, turn it around here.
Wow, look at that.
So here we've got 3 whole layers, and we can kind of turn at different angles. You can see kind of the construction of it. And again, by doing the little platforms first, all the other pieces are cut out, and you can keep playing with them until you get them just the way you want it.
Oh my goodness, now, there was a lot of work put into that.
Yeah.
Was it that difficult to do? It looks like you made your platforms here, is what you called them earlier, and then you have another piece of paper that glued onto the top, but you stamped it the same.
Right, and when it's separate pieces, it's a lot easier to control.
Yeah, I could see
And
that.
if you glue it on, or you can move things around and do a little bit of planning for how you're going to see things in the background.
That is gorgeous.
So, okay, so that kind of concludes a whole variety of 3D things that you can try.
Boy, that gives it a really neat effect when you open that, and it just pops right out. I like that. Great idea, Fran.
Okay, good.
Fran, I'd really like to learn some tricks about combining and overlapping images, like you did here on the garden card. You make it look so easy. Can you show me how to do that?
Yeah, let's go through a whole series of things from that card. We'll start with the simplest, and then we'll keep adding some more complex ones.
Okay, great.
One of the first things that's a real easy trick is to take a stamp and color only a partial image. And if I were to take this iris stamp, I might color just one little part down here, and I could use it along an edge to look like grass.
Oh, that is so great, because I mean that's not even what it's intended for, and you just
and you could keep repeating all different area to cover the whole part down here for grass. Then another way would be that if I wanted only a single iris, I could color just that part of it. If I were working with the stamp pads, I'd be limited to the whole design, but the markers will allow me to do just part of it.
That's where they come in real handy, is picking a specific part of your stamp.
So even if I just did a couple of colors on here for the moment, I might want all the leaves, and I might want even these leaves over here, like that. Okay, and as long as the rest of it is clean, It's not going to give me any problem at all to do just that part.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So that gives you a real fun way. So you're omitting the part that you don't want, okay? And let's see, another way is to begin covering up different areas. Or, you know, actually, I was going to show some other things with this one. Here is another one where the whole image has several different elements. Some of them, like this one, maybe there's two. This is what we call our two-in-one stamps. And it's easy to color just this half or this half if that's all you wanted.
Yeah, you could just either, or you could use both of them if you had a specific design in mind, but you could get a lot of mileage out of something like this, couldn't you?
Right.
Okay.
And then this one, there are several different segments to it. If all you wanted was this segment, you could color just that. Or you can do the whole frame and omit the picture in the middle. Take a look at, you know, that one card we had over there.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, that pattern looks kind of familiar here.
Yeah.
I noticed that the poinsettias over here on the Christmas card, and you just
So since the
eliminated
design,
that?
the design doesn't come right up to that border, it's very easy to just stop coloring
I see.
at that point.
Okay.
Yeah. And other times you can begin doing things by covering up different areas. Let me show you with this one. I've got a teacup stamp that has a straight edge across the top. And so it's very easy to take a straight edge of paper, or a sticky note is great, and put it on here and cover up the teacup. I can just barely see it through there. In fact, let me have you try this.
Oh, okay.
Here's a pretty pink pad.
My
And
favorite
try
color.
just filling, you know, a whole bunch of hearts on there, like they're coming out of the teacup. Stay within this area as you move out and see what it does.
Okay, and just kind of go up and
do
out.
some overlapping that straight edge, and
Oh,
it'll
I
look
see.
like they're down inside the cup.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay. I get this. All right, kind of. And I can overlap my hearts too. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They look like they're all just coming right out. You could go back in, add, here, try another one
Different
with
color.
a dark
Okay.
one here. Whoops.
Kind of clean that off a little bit.
Yeah, since you're going to a darker color, you're okay.
Oh, okay, because they're all.
Yeah, and maybe another one up there, even going off the edge of the paper. And oh, yeah, that's going to look nice. Okay, now pull away the mask on there.
See
how
happens?
it looks. Yeah.
Oh,
Isn't that fun?
it looks like
Isn't
it's
that fun?
coming out of the cup.
Yeah, so you got a whole teacup full. Terry, you're doing great at this designing stuff. I'll let you do another one
Oh,
here.
great, okay.
Let's say a straight edge of paper doesn't always work for what we want. And we want to make it the roses or something coming out of the teacup and overlapping.
Ooh,
okay.
that sounds hard. Okay.
Well, let's start from here. Try stamping the rose somewhere just in the middle of the card, because we'll
Okay.
need to start with what's in the foreground. Okay?
Okay. You always start with what's in the foreground?
Right.
Okay. Kind
Turn it a little bit. You can see the
Oh, okay.
roses
There.
kind of.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Okay, and just anywhere right
Yeah.
in here. Okay.
Okay.
Voila.
Now, stamp again on our sticky note, and we'll make another kind of a mask here.
All right.
Kind of go up to the top edge where the sticky edge, I think, is up here. Okay.
Okay.
Now I can take this and cut it out as if that were my pattern. And just to save time, I've taken another one here that I cut out ahead.
All
Okay.
right.
And then let's put it down on top of that rose and cover up to keep that area clean. Well, here, I'll just
Okay.
put it on here. Okay, so now it's covering that up. And you can come back and now stamp the teacup
Oh.
on
all right.
top and overlap it in
Okay.
there.
Let's see if I can get some good ink on here. And now,
Okay,
I'm going to stamp right over this.
right.
Okay. If you say so, here I go.
Try it.
Ooh.
Okay, now I'll let you lift it away because that's the fun part, to see how it
See
overlaps.
what happened. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Isn't
So
that
now-
what it looks like? It's just flowing
Got
over
it
the
right down in
side.
there. And you can keep going from there and add, let me add a few more. And sometimes you can just eye it and put other things in there. Other times you could keep going with your masks, and you could even cut out several at a time if you wanted to,
Oh,
if you were
that's a good
doing a
idea.
whole arrangement, and save your pieces. Other times you can even just take a piece of the sticky paper and tear an irregular edge and use that to cover up one part while you add another one and it looks like it's behind it.
Oh, yeah.
And in that
Okay.
way, with any combination, you can keep going and adding more and more images until you get a whole finished result like this.
What a beautiful bouquet.
And another way is that where the images overlap, what you choose to color will bring one forward and
Brings it
push
out.
another one back as if it were behind it. So there's
So-
no need to worry a whole lot
Yeah.
about the placement, and
Yeah.
it fills in.
If you wanted to be
So-
more precise, you may want to cut it out. But for something like this, where it's just,
Right.
you know, it's just the combination of it is so beautiful.
Yeah. So there's a lot
Okay.
of fun options with that.
That's beautiful.
So that gives you
Okay.
some of those ideas. And again, I just save all my little pieces so that I can use them again.
You
can
save
take a look in
everything,
here.
Fran.
Yeah, there's no need to do it twice.
Oh, now,
So here's
I recognize this from this
right.
little card
That one we
you
used
made.
on there, and it's still. I think we used some of the Tackanote stuff on there.
Okay, you
and
saved this then and use this
yeah.
stencil here. Okay.
And here's another bunch of them that I can just attach them to a card so that I can find them easily.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah, it would take a lot of time to cut one of these out, so that's a great idea to
just
save them.
Save it. So that'll give you. You could come back to it easily if you want to do it another time.
Okay. Great.
Okay. And let's see, one more thing that I wanted to just give a couple of hints on doing some things with the alphabets. And so let's try this.
Yeah, I've wondered how, if you wanted to put your name or a name on something, how you would keep it straight.
Yeah.
I'm, as a beginner, would
Yeah.
probably have a tendency to go up and down. Of course, I design it that way, so
Yeah.
if I made a mistake, nobody could tell.
Yeah. Well, this set, I just use my X-Acto knife and cut the whole lid off so that I can use it to store my alphabets. And I can pull out, let's see, pull out any of the letters, and I'll use it off of the stamp pad. I've got this one here with the dark colors already. And I can find the letters all in order that way in my little tray. And sometimes I actually want to do a curve. And if I can just get comfortable doing it by hand, I can do any different lineup of it that I want. I prefer a pretty close spacing, so you can kind of look at the edge a little bit to see where it's hitting the paper.
Just kind of
And see, now I'm doing the whole thing on a curve.
Yeah, I see that. You're just eyeing it, basically, is
Yeah,
what you're doing.
I always call it the lilt of stamping. If things are,
Yeah.
kind of up and down, it's obviously hand stamped, and it has a very fresh, personalized sort of look to it. And you can also, there's a couple of little designs in here, and you can just keep going with that.
Oh, isn't that adorable?
It's a little directional kind of a thing. And you might go back and put some of the irises or something over here on
Oh,
the other
that
side.
would be pretty.
So, okay, so that gives us a whole variety of different kinds of masking and overlapping ideas, and you can use any combination of them that you like.
They're endless.
So.
The combinations are
Yeah,
endless.
yeah.
Great. For those occasions when you need to align your stamps perfectly, there's a special way to do it. Fran, how do we do something like that?
Well, we have a special tool called a stamp aligner, and I'll show you a few tricks with it.
Okay, great.
Okay. Gary Dorothy was actually the first to use a tool like this. And the stamp aligner has rulers on it along the bottom edge and also on the two corners coming into the middle, which I call a 0 point. And this gives you a lot of different things. It kind of works like a T-square. or
Oh, I
something.
see. What are these here for?
These
little
help
bumps.
keep it from skidding around on the paper.
Oh, okay,
So
good idea.
we
All
do
right.
that. And also the rounded edges, I'd used it a little bit earlier if I just wanted to score and do some folding or burnishing and things like that.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
remember.
handy
Okay.
edge on there.
Okay. Now, does this come with the tracing paper pad?
It's important to use along with it. And we've put a lot of instructions on it. And let's say we were trying to do a complex combination or whole arrangement here of images on the card where the placement is important so that the stems are down inside the vase and some things like that. Let's break this down and starting from the beginning show how we use the stamp aligner to do it.
Okay.
And let's see, I've stamped a little part of this ahead. I've taken this card and put the vase on it already. And we'll use some of our masking techniques to cover up the vase so that the
Which
stems...
we learned earlier.
Right, and that'll make the vase look opaque, okay?
Okay.
We'll get that part ready, and then where we need to use the stamp liner, if you'll read some of the instructions on there, I'll see if I can follow it,
Okay.
and we'll try it out.
Okay, great. Let's see if they work. Okay,
Okay.
so let's see. We're going to place a sheet of tracing paper to the Stamp-A-Liner's corner where the zeros meet and hold them both in place.
Okay.
Just like so, okay? Take an inked stamp and guide it into that same corner position.
Okay, give me a minute here to freshen my colors on
Okay.
here.
You use a pretty rose.
Get some green on the stems.
Okay. And stamp
Okay.
on the tracing paper.
Okay,
Oh, I see. Okay, you're lining
so I
it
put it
right in the corner.
into my 0 points there. Okay,
Okay. Now take the stamp tracing paper and position it over the exact area you wish to stamp or restamp.
okay. If you can see through this a little bit, you can see how I can place it all different
yeah.
ways.
Okay.
And let's say I'll start with the first one over to this side.
Okay, so
Okay.
it says hold the paper in place there, and that's where
Okay.
we decided it's going to go?
Okay,
Okay. Now, move the Stamp-A-Liner up to the corner of the tracing paper and hold both in place.
okay,
Without moving the Stamp-A-Liner, remove the tracing paper and guide your inked stamp into the corner.
okay. Let me just freshen the colors again real quick.
Oh, this is actually pretty easy.
Yeah,
This is
Good.
a handy little tool to have if you want to place them just in the right spot
right. Okay, so I've got it inked.
and make that perfect impression on the paper.
Okay. Okay. You want to peel it away?
Love to. See what we got.
Okay. Great.
Beautiful.
And let's see. Okay, so some other thoughts following that. Let's say I want to continue and put the second, third rows in there. I can keep using this part. I don't have to go back that far again. And I can then take this and decide exactly where I want the second one.
Oh, so you can use
Okay.
the same one. You don't
Mhm.
have to do it differently.
Now I would
each
put it
time.
at this angle, and I'd stamp that one. And for the third one, now I have those two on there before I decide on the next one, and now I've got a completely different angle. So you'd never imagine that the tracing paper is going to be at that strange an angle.
Right.
But once you have it to look at together, you can then use the stamp liner to combine it.
Great.
So-
Great. Well, that's a helpful
real well.
tool.
Yeah, let me show a couple other variations of things. And like before, I can save all the tracings and keep reusing them.
Oh, good
So-
idea. Okay.
And I had another one in here. On this big stamp, it was designed to fit one of our window cards. And so if I want to place it perfectly on there, I can use my Stamp-A-Liner in this way. Once I have the tracing, I can keep moving it around till it hits that window just the way I want it.
Oh.
And then I can slide it underneath. And this is where it comes in handy that it's raised enough that I can slide it underneath and come into that
I
corner
see.
again.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be extremely difficult to do without
Right,
something
get it
like
just
this.
right. And by the time you
Yeah.
do all the coloring, you want it to be placed just right and not ruin any of your paper.
Right,
So
exactly.
it makes a difference.
Exactly.
Okay. And we have some other things here.
Okay. Now, how would you use something that doesn't have a corner to it? For example, these shapes over
Right.
here.
Okay, let's look at that. Now, one thing that will help, I sometimes use some of the tack-a-note or something, and I can actually put something down on my scrap paper so that I can hold it in place. In fact, let's try a round one here.
Okay.
And I'm going to press it down just so that it stays put on there. And then I have my tracing from an earlier time where I used this interesting little one on the tag.
Mhm.
And so it was positioned into the corner. And okay, so let's try positioning it, you know, if you wanted it way up here or if you wanted it centered.
Yeah.
Just keep moving it around, and then it's the tracing paper to the 0 points that's the important thing.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
that would be hard to do too because you have such a small area to work
Right.
in. You want to make sure
And you
it's
want it to
just
stay
right.
in place, and we've done that to secure it. Okay,
Mhm.
so now I can remove that, and it's quick and easy off of the stamp pad. I can ink my stamp, and again I'm pushing the corners of the wood up against my stamp aligner. Press on the paper, and there it is.
Perfect.
So then you can just gently pick it up, pulling it off of the tackanote stuff that's down there. So in the same way, when I did this one, I used a lot of the little mini fun stamps.
Yeah.
And there's such a variety in there. You could make endless row patterns like we were talking about.
Right.
The design. And I just started from the top and worked my way down the card.
Oh, and
so that'll help.
And they're
keep you line
perfectly
them up.
lined up along the bottom, which makes it look
Yeah.
real sharp.
You can go back and color in the detail and stuff when you're done. And I wanted them real close in that one, so it helped. And at times I can measure the distance away where I begin each row by using the ruler that's on there. And let's do another variation of that, actually. Let's say, let me try some things here with this stamp.
Okay.
Let's say I wanted to do a whole pattern of this. Now sometimes I want to move into the card, and I can use the width of this to keep an even left-hand margin.
Oh, okay, I see.
So let's say that I started with this off the pad, and I just start at the top. Now for this, all I need is to press up against this edge, and I'm going to make it look like it's off the top edge and coming down. And I've got about, I can watch that same, see, I'll make them close.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Now these edges here, see, are all lined up on
right.
there.
Okay.
So let's add to that. Let's say that I wanted to do what I call kind of a shadow technique.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
I made my little tracing earlier, and if I put it on here, let's say I want to do a drop shadow like that. Okay.
You couldn't just, boom, put it on, huh?
Not likely.
Not without
Okay.
probably messing up your card, huh?
Right. Let me clean off my stamp for a second here. Okay, now I'm going to switch to the pink, and I'll do the lower one here just so that I'll do the middle one. It's a little bit easier to reach. Okay, so I decide how much of a shadow I want. I can see the two together. Move my stamp aligner all the way up.
So you
that I'm in the
positioned your
corner.
paper first and then put your stamp aligner up to the
Right,
paper.
right.
Okay.
Okay. And then I replace tracing paper for the inked stamp. Want to say a prayer?
Please do not go with it.
Okay, I press it into the corner, and there we go. The whole shadow
Beautiful.
on there. So you can
like
keep going
that.
that way and add it to all of them like a shadow.
And you could make it as close or as far away, just kind of depending on, you know, what you're into
Yeah,
at that time.
yeah.
Great. Great.
So let's see, we've got a couple more things. Let's say we did this design we looked at earlier, and let's say I was using the markers and I actually forgot to color part of the streamers on there. This would be another one that you might want to go back and color that part of it. And so in the same way, using my tracing, I can go back and line it up and stamp again.
So
and on this
you
one,
could use this to correct
right,
things if you don't.
right.
Oh.
And on this one, since this is all pretty colors, I might just color all of the green ribbons again and just go back and stamp that part of it if I wanted to.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I have one last thing that I'll show you that I just sort of had fun playing with here. This
I
is
love
one
this.
of, yeah. This was a very large stamp, and I wanted to color it in, but I found when I stamped it in dark colors to start with, and I went back with lighter colors, it kind of muddied up the colors a little bit. So on this one, what I did first was that I stamped it in the lightest color that I had in here, and stamped the whole thing. And then I went to the other markers and the 2-tip pens, and I colored it in, but I just did loose washes. I didn't worry about going over the lines or anything, and I just filled it all in some pretty colors. And then what I did is come back with the
Wow.
dark color over it. So let's
Now, how
let's
did you do
try it
that?
on here.
Okay.
Okay. Let's put this down, and I still have my tracing. So let me ink the stamp.
And you've picked a darker color to go
Right.
back
It'll almost
over.
give me a stained glass effect on there with the
Ooh.
dark as the last color. I could use black or a dark blue. Any dark color would work this way.
But they work best if you use the darker color.
Yeah, I like the contrast that I put all the light colors on first. So in the same way that I used this stamp first, I'll be using it last. They're all inked. So again, as long as all the raised areas are inked. Okay.
Boy, this is intense here. I'd be really afraid to do something like this.
Okay, well let me get the two, you know, I'll put some glue down on there. I'll make sure that these two are matching together.
Now, this is the pattern that you stamped before so that we could tell
Right.
where we're going to put our stamp aligner.
Okay, and I'll press it down on here. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, am I in the corners there?
Looks,
Okay.
well, no, not quite. Here, I can get a better angle here.
Let me just move it in a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Cross your fingers.
Yeah. Okay, now in one this big, while it's still on there without jiggling it, give it some hand pressure to make sure that all of the ink is going to get on the page.
Oh,
Okay.
that's beautiful.
And there you see the whole mirror effect.
You're
on
right,
there.
it does look like a stained glass.
Yeah, so either way,
Gorgeous.
it works real well. Okay, that takes us through a whole variety of different things with the stamp aligner.
Well, I could see this could be a very handy tool to have.
Right.
You will be able to use any combination of the techniques you have learned today to enhance the beauty of your cards and to expand your stamping horizons.